For each of these three functions, we know they'll continue in the domain of x, or the angle, to infinity to the left and the right. The domain is just xer, all real numbers. What we want to focus on is range. So the range is going to exist between the peak and the trough, or the max and the min of the functions, right? We just basically want to find what's the peak and what's the trough, and that will allow us to set our range for each function. So let's look at what affects the max and the min points. We could see that the vertical stretch or compression would affect the points by multiplying or dividing them. The horizontal stretch or compression would not affect the max or the min, because that would just move it left or right. Neither would the phase shift, but then the vertical shift would also affect the max and the min points. So we're just going to look at the a value and the d value of each function to determine what the range will be, because we already know the domain is xer for each one. So we're going to start with just a basic cos function has a maximum at +1, this is the y value, remember, and a minimum at -1. So this is for all of them. And then we're going to apply each of these transformations. The first one, we're going to multiply by 2, multiply the max and the min. The max would now be at +2, and the min would be at -2. Next, we need to add 2. So shift all the points up, +2. So this would be now a max of 4 and a min of 0. So our range, we would say, is YER. Y is greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 4. So we would be doing this for each other function. So let's look at, so in this one we could see that it's a stretch by a factor of 2 and it's reflected on the x-axis vertically. So a vertical reflection, our max will become our min and our min will become our max, something like this. So this would be -1 and +1 to start with, showing from the very beginning the points have a magnitude of 1. Then we'll apply the vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Our a value is times 2. This gives us a min of -2 and a max of +2. And finally, we'll apply our vertical shift up by a factor of 2. So we add 2. This is adding. So we get 4 and 0 again. The last one's going to be the exact same as the first one, because we have our points +1, -1, which would be +2 and -2 after we apply the vertical stretch. And our vertical shift of +2 and +2 would give us a max of 4 and a min of 0. So you can see that this would have the exact same range. So actually all of them would have the same range, just between 0 and 4. Yeah, so if just in terms of the range, if a is positive or negative, it really does not affect the outcome of our range. It would affect the local maximum and minimum points at the peaks and the troughs.